Welcome everyone. My name is Erik Lidman. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Aimplan. So this webinar will be around supercharging Power BI with budgeting, forecasting, and financial reporting. It will be a 40-minute webinar. First, a little bit about what is Aimplan. Well, we are a Swedish SaaS and software company started in early 2022 on a journey to supercharge Power BI with totally new capabilities. We are using the latest Azure technologies and web technologies and technology within Power BI. We are based here in the northern part of Sweden, but we have customers across Europe, across North America. We are using latest technology, as I said, and we are also backed by a VC company in Silicon Valley called Born Capital. And we are a Microsoft ISV partner. We are part of the Microsoft Founders Hub network, and we are very soon reaching the first milestone of getting 100 customers running our solutions across the world. So before we start to talk about Aimplan, let's just talk about Power BI, and especially from the office of the CFO and the finance perspective. Power BI is the leading platform for data analytics and reporting on different data sources. And it's a great solution. It's rated #1 by Gartner. But when talking about Power BI in the office of the CFO, the story goes like this. First, everyone loves it. You implement Power BI and you have this nice charts, all of this data visualization, and everyone is happy. And then the CFO raised the hand and say, okay, can you produce this kind of P&L statement? I want more than just the graphs and charts. And then you end up with the challenges because it's not easy to create kind of real, what we call structured reports within Power BI. Maybe you managed to do that with a matrix report in Power BI. Then the second time the CFO raised the hand is when they say, okay, but I want to do the budgeting and forecasting within Power BI. And as you are aware, you can't do that in Power BI. You cannot enter any data or editing any numbers inside of Power BI. So that is also a big challenge. If you look at Power BI, you can connect to a lot of different data sources. You can bring data out to end users very efficiently. But it's all about a one-way communication. You cannot bring data back from the end users. And it's always about kind of the historical data, what happened yesterday, last week, last month, and so on. So these are some of the challenges that we see, especially in the office of the CFO when implementing Power BI. And we'll very soon switch over and talk how we solve these kind of things with Aimplan. So if you have implemented Power BI, what we are adding to an existing Power BI implementation is, first of all, we have custom visuals, which are kind of visuals that you add into your Power BI report and what you see on the screen, and that is what we will showcase today. But we also have in the back end the Aimplan SaaS service, where we have business logic and we have where the data is stored. You can also store the planning and forecasting data inside your own Azure tenant if you would like to do that. But it's a full SaaS solution, so there is no hardware or kind of other software that you need to install on service. You can get going very, very easy. The technology makes it possible to very fast and easy capture data from the end user and bring this data back to a central repository, and then you can report on that very easily. And this makes it possible also then to work with forecasting and planning and looking forward, not just reporting on the actuals. So what we do with Aimplan are kind of, we start off with a Power BI implementation and it's kind of the baseline. And then we have planning, budgeting, forecasting capabilities. We are adding possibilities to build more structured reports more easily. Master data management and data management to edit other types of data within Power BI. And then collaboration with commenting and status control and approval processes and these kind of things, all inside of Power BI. We started this journey in early 2022. We had a great success with companies and customers across all kinds of industry in the Nordics, but also in the rest of Europe, in Germany and Italy and Spain and so on. And we also have a few customers in North America and both in Canada and in US. What's kind of the common thing with these companies are they are running Power BI in the back to start this journey. So having Power BI, adding Aimplan, some of the use cases are starting with sales and revenue forecasting. How much will we sell on different products and customers and segments? We have more operation and production planning. How much bread will we have need to produce, or what kind of products we are producing, or it can be other kind of internal processes that you're planning. We have more traditional OPEX and headcount planning, the normal cost and headcount planning, and project planning and reporting. Those are kind of many times in the office of the CFO. There are other use cases more driven by IT and business intelligence teams, more about getting data into Power BI, continuously being able to capture KPI data from end users out in the organization, also manage master data within Power BI. And then you can bring all of this together into what we call an integrated financial planning model, where you combine your operational planning data and your financial planning inside of Power BI, and you're also then using Power BI as the tool for your financial reporting across the organization. So those are some of the use cases that we have seen when customers are running Power BI with Aimplan. So I was thinking that we should jump over to some demonstration. But first, Herman, any questions so far in the chat?
Yes, can we go for this one then? What version of Power BI is needed to run Aimplan?
Sure. So most users start with Power BI Desktop, which is just a desktop development application. That is not where Aimplan is targeting. But you can run Aimplan with Power BI Pro, just normal Power BI, or Power BI Premium Capacity. So all web versions of Power BI is kind of the target audience for this kind of solution. Okay, let's jump into the demo. I will kind of divide this into 3 sections. First, talk about planning, budgeting, and forecasting, talk about reporting, and then a little bit about administration. And we will have questions during these sessions also. So first, then, planning and budgeting forecasting in Power BI with Aimplan. What are the advantages? Well, first of all, if you have started working with Power BI, you have your semantic model, your data sets, your data inside of Power BI. With Aimplan, you just use that data and drag our visuals into the reports, and you can start to do write back and planning exercises inside of Power BI. This means that it's possible to very fast collect data from end users. You can just publish the report out to 50 or 500 users to bring data back to this central repository. It simplifies lives. You don't need to send a lot of spreadsheets across the organization and so on. It also makes it possible to do rolling forecasts much more frequent than you do with more manual processes. So let's jump into Power BI. We're going to go into a normal Power BI report. So this is nothing, it's just a normal Power BI report. It's our demo environment. And I will first talk a little bit about sales forecasting. Say that we have a team of sales reps across different regions, or some are covering the direct sales channel, and we are looking at the computer products right now. We have a specific planning forecasting scenario. All of this is normal Power BI slicers. You see the chart here is a normal Power BI chart, and we have some cards in Power BI. In the middle here, we have the Aimplan planning and reporting visual. It shows up data from the Power BI model, the products, the last year's sales, and so on. The difference here is that I can start to edit data. I can also do like in Excel, like take this small handle and copy this across. So I can start to edit data and press save. So what happens now is that we're storing this data into this central repository, and it's updating the Power BI model. So for example, if I go in and on this, let's take this product, we're going to run a campaign on this product for the year. Maybe we believe we're going to sell like not 600 units, but 4,000 units. If I put in the value for the full year, it will be allocated or splashed across the different months based on, you can have different allocation keys for that, but now we are splashing it across the different months here. And we can do the same thing with, let's run an extra campaign for this specific customer target in US in August, maybe sell 5,000 units there. And we're updating then the numbers. and we're pressing save, and the data goes down to this central database. So this showcase kind of you're inside Power BI. As a normal user, you don't recognize that you're running Aimplan because it's so integrated in the normal Power BI report. The next step is when you've developed this or configured this in your Power BI report, is that you just click share, copy link, copy this one, and email that out to the users that should be able to edit these numbers. That is how easy it is to start to collecting data. And then you want to control who can do the forecasting for the direct sales channels and the computer product type and so on. And that is controlled with normal Power BI row level security that you maybe already have in your existing Power BI model. So that's a little bit about sales forecasting. You can work with volumes and prices and discount models, and it's all the calculation down here are performed by normal Power BI measures. Let's jump over, look on the cost side. A traditional budget exercise. We are running a specific company. We are in one of our cost centers, the Stockholm cost center. We are in the Q1 forecast for this year. We see the chart of account coming from the Power BI model. We see the last year's cost or the actuals. What we can do now is we can actually start to, again, edit this data. We maybe need 800K in January. Copy this across. We can also, as we looked at on the other scheme, we can do it for the full year and say we're going to budget like not 4 million, but 7 million here. Spread that across. You can say that I want to allocate this based on some other driver. So you can have different drivers to allocate things. You can also do like, okay, this full account group, let's increase that number equals plus 12%. And then we're increasing all the numbers with those 12%. So you can actually start to edit data here. You can also get suggestions. Say that I don't know this vehicle cost. Then you can have in your Power BI model suggestions for the end user. So if I, as an end user here in Stockholm, I say, okay, show me some suggestion. Maybe I want the last year cost of the average 3 years cost. Then I get the proposal kind of based on historical data, what these numbers should be. Or maybe you have an AI model in the background, kind of looking at the trends of all these cost centers and accounts. And you can then go and say like this, I want to give me the AI generated cost for this. And then you more or less get the full budget. So far, the actuals was 115 million. Now it's 132. That's a little bit too much. Maybe you should take it down to 125 million. Okay, then I want to lock maybe the first half year I'm really happy with, so I can lock these cells. And then I want to increase this to 130 million, and then just affecting the second part of the year. And when I finalize this, I just want to store this down to this central database. And the Power BI is updated immediately. And then you have all of these standard functions that you want to have with row comments. And we also have other visuals for comments. For example, here, page comments connected to the data, the planning scenario, and so on. So that is a little bit about planning, budgeting, and forecasting. Any questions, Herman?
Yes, connected to comments. If you have, you showed us the row comments just now, but is there like a more detailed version of commenting available?
Okay. So comments are good both in reporting and in planning scenarios to provide context. So we have 3 levels of comments. First, we have this comment visual that you can have on the side or somewhere on the page. It's a separate visual. You can write row comments, commenting kind of all of these numbers. And you can also, like in Excel, put in a comment on the cell here. And all this data is then stored together with the data when saving it down to this central database. Any other questions?
Super. Yes. If I want to work with multiple scenarios, how do I do that?
Good question. At the top here, you see that we have this scenario dimension. And this scenario dimensions and creating these scenarios is actually what we call an Aimplan system dimension. Everything else here is just from your normal Power BI model. So what you can do here is you can actually manage and set up and create new scenarios, and you can copy data between scenarios. And that is something you're actually not doing inside of Power BI. That is something you do outside of Power BI in the Aimplan admin portal, because this is a SaaS service. So we can do it already now. We switch over to the admin portal. And here you configure kind of users and scenarios and measures and a lot of stuff. And let's look at the scenarios here. So in our demo, we have a few budget and forecast scenarios. Let's create a new one. 2024 Q4. And we say that this is open for editing for end users. You can lock them and so on. So now we have a new scenario. We can then also copy scenario data between a previous scenario, kind of the Q1 forecast over to the Q2 forecast and so on. But let's just go back to Power BI and click this normal Power BI small refresh button here. And we will see a new scenario coming up here, 2024 Q4. And it will probably very empty. I mean, it's kind of totally, there is no data here. It's just a new scenario. So what I can do then is to either copy data from a previous scenario, or we can use this suggestion function. Say, let's start with kind of the former Q1 forecast, or maybe last year cost, to get the proposal here. Maybe I change something and press save to store this data in this central repository. So that is how easy you can create new scenarios and switch between different scenarios. That was a long answer to a short question. Okay?
Yes. Do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay, so defining the underlying model, etc., seems like a large but mainly one-time task. Our BI developers are ST capacity. Would Aimplan and/or XLENT support on this?
So first of all, if you have a Power BI model, you are kind of 82% ready. Because if you look behind the scenes on this report, you will see that our visual is not different versus any other visual in Power BI. We are adding from the data model, we are adding some measures, not one, maybe a few of them. Some of them are kind of editable and some of them are kind of actuals. We have fields that we want to show here, for example, the name of the accounts and the month and so on. And then we have what's called key fields. This is how the data is stored in the database. A number here, if I put in the number 100, that 100 will be stored together with the currency key and the account key. I'm standing on a specific count line here, the company key, the scenario key, and so on. So all of these values in the different slicers will be used to store this data. So it's quite easy to get going with these kind of visuals if you have a good Power BI model. Maybe you can answer the second question about getting help.
Yes, we are. And I mean, as Eric says, if you have the base already there, the 85% is already done. Then it's more about connecting the Aimplan part of things into your existing model. But then also it's a lot about, the discussions with your business and making sure the layout is matching the need of your end user, so to say. And I mean, that can be a bit time consuming, but from a technical point of view, you already have the base there. But of course, we are here to help if needed.
Yeah. So let's just jump over to the second and third part of the demo. Let's talk a little bit about reporting and the capabilities there. When it comes to both planning input forms and reports, we see the need to be able to really configure the reports and the planning forms on a granular level. It's not good enough with a matrix. In Power BI, you have the matrix report, which works like a pivot table. You put things on rows and columns and some measures, and it just explodes. That is not good enough for kind of really building planning and forecasting forms, and also financial reporting is really tricky using a matrix report. So let's take the same visual here and just run it in reporting mode. And look at the very traditional P&L kind of statement. We're going to be on that sheet. So in this case, we have the Aimplan planning and reporting visual in the middle here, showing numbers. And it's reacting to the slices for sure, as any other visual, because it's a normal visual. So if I add Gothenburg here as a cost center, you will see that you will have Gothenburg also part of this report. The specific thing with the Aimplan visual is that you can define something called sections. We have row sections and column sections. So for example, the revenue here is a section, and here you define your own set of attributes, how you want to build the structure here. In this case, we want to have the accounts, and then we want to see cost centers beneath this, the accounts. The personnel cost is a specific section. We have another structure there. And then we have a calculated section here, which is actually either using a DAX measure or it's a calculation in the visual. We have a percentage in the middle of the report. So you can really control on the row section by row section what you want to show. Down here, we have some other measure showing some other KPIs. On the columns sections, we see that we have time. We have the quarters and month. But on the right side, we also have cost centers, which is normally impossible to do in a normal matrix report. And you have support for drill through, you have, and very important, which you can't really do in the normal matrix report easily, is that you can right click here and you can export this data and get this data into Excel in a format that looks like something that an end user would like to see. So you kind of get the colors and the formatting and all of this and procedure and so on based on what you see in the report. So using the Aimplan planning and reporting visual also for reporting is a very common scenario, specifically on the fact that you can actually add cell comments and row comments also in reports if you have managers out in the organization that want to comment on the numbers, together with the comment functionality that we have on the pages. So that is very briefly about structured reporting. And then finally, a little bit about data management. So when you build these kind of models, it's good to be able to edit numbers, but say that you want to edit other data. Maybe you want to create a project registers or managing your chart of account structure or something like that. Then we have also other visuals that you can use in Power BI, managing more kind of a master data, data that you don't have in other systems. So in this example, we have our data input table visual showing data in a table, or we can also extend existing Power BI tables that you have in your Power BI model. So the end user can click edit, and they can start to edit some of the columns. You can control what data they can edit. Maybe you should increase the price here to 4,000 per hour, switch the project leader, and change the date, and then press save. And when you edit this data, this can also affect the Power BI model. So you see that the Power BI chart here is now increasing to 4,000 based on the change we made. So this means that you can maintain and do mappings and these kind of things. Instead of using a lot of spreadsheets across the organization, you can do that inside of Power BI. So that was kind of a short demo. And these kind of functionalities, now we have not showed the status and approval process visual and how to define process and so on, but this actually creates totally new possibilities inside of Power BI. Any more questions, or?
So we have two data-related questions. The first one is, can you, for example, copy and paste data from Excel into a Power BI visual? And the second one was, let's just see, can a user upload a file that is loaded into the model? I would assume that also means some kind of base information.
Yeah, so copy and paste works very well. So if you can copy and paste from Excel and so on, but if I copy here, I can actually paste this data somewhere else, and it's the same thing if you're copying from Excel. You can upload data into the database you can upload CSV files and this kind of files into the database itself. But normally you don't need to do that, because if you have the data in Power BI, you have the data. You can use kind of just a suggestion functionality. Say I want to have the last year's sales or whatever data you want to get into the model. So you actually import it, not to Aimplan, you import it to your Power BI model instead of primarily to Aimplan.
Super. Do you have time for the quickest question of them all, I would say, more or less? It's
Yes.
more or less a yes or no question. Is the Aimplan visual available as a standalone visual to use for reporting in Power BI?
Yes, you can use it. You can use it for reporting only if you would like to, and there is another pricing model for that. Okay.
Super.
Let's then kind of wrap this up. As you see, Aimplan is a little bit different versus other FP&A tools. If you talk about the Anaplan in the world, well, and how is that? Well, first of all, it's built for Power BI, built into Power BI. It's actually working embedded inside of Power BI. It's built for the cloud, nothing to install, just get going. You can kind of drag and drop the visuals, and we can spin up a new instance very, very fast. You can use your existing Power BI model, which is a great way of getting started again very fast on your existing data. It's a full solution. It's not just a visual. You have scenario management, you have full audit trail, and a lot of functionality that you will see that users will start to ask for. And again, a lot of deep functionality, and especially this row and column section design concept is a unique concept, which is very important to create these kind of solutions.